Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, live from Uncomfortable Wants to Get Away Gizmo Land. It is a reading of my first ever novel. Hello, everybody. I assume without looking at the chat, I can say hello, Olivia. Hello, Kyle. Who else is here? Max Friedrich, all old names. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to edit this down. You should know that for whoever's watching it live, this is going to be one of my disappearing lives. And I'm going to probably cut up the parts of it that I think are good and post them because I've been doing that. Hey, everybody. Hey, everybody. Well, I figured I would use this opening part before we get started just to talk about what's been going on in America. As I'm sure you all know, there's armed protests planned at all of the 50 state capitals. People are going to die. This is very bad. And I just wanted to check in with everyone in the chat and see how everyone's feeling stress-wise. COVID is affecting my life right now. I don't have it, but someone very close to me does. And it's a pretty intense experience to be happening during the fall of American democracy, the second revolution where there are idiots in charge. What's up? What's up, everybody? Hello, everybody. I love that. Says the FBI. Yeah, because we can't trust the FBI. I love how simple and direct it is. You know, throughout my childhood, everyone always told me that the reason we study history is so we don't repeat the mistakes of the past. But we have a charismatic guy who has been proven to be bad at everything, and a bunch of people say he's stoking racial tension. And everybody else goes, no, he isn't. You're just saying that because you're too sensitive. And people go, he's a dictator. He's going to get people killed. And people go, no, you're just too sensitive. And for 4 years, it felt like almost everyone knew this was going to happen. Except Trump. And he did the thing dictators do where they attack and destroy truth. This guy in the chat being like, oh, can't trust the FBI. No, there's only one person you can't trust. Everybody else is trying to clean up a mess. If there's a toddler in the middle of the room screaming and throwing and breaking things, you don't go, well, for the sake of the classroom, I don't think we should punish the toddler. I think we should maybe take a good look at the teacher. Yeah, maybe take a look at the teacher after you put the toddler in timeout. It's just fascinating to me that Trump and social media has created an environment where feelings don't care about facts. They're the FBI. They're not going to lie to you. They can't afford to. You think the FBI would put out any kind of dishonest information at this moment in history? It would only make their jobs harder. You think the Democrats are going to lie? No, they have nothing to lie about. Unless you're like a real QAnon. But it's just so funny because there's this old phrase, don't believe your lying eyes, believe me. And it's one of those phrases like pick yourself up by your bootstraps, where the phrase actually means don't believe the person who's saying this. In the same way that picking yourself up by your bootstraps, that phrase literally is designed to mean something you can't do. You can't lift yourself into the air by your shoelaces. So when people give advice and they go, pick yourself up by your bootstraps, they don't know what they're saying. But yeah, it's been remarkable as a storyteller to watch. I'm a storyteller. I'm a public figure. I'm a guy who has struggled with a personality disorder. So is our president. The difference is he refuses to try because he never had to. You know, my childhood was a nightmare. I just got punished constantly. I didn't even get to be John Landis's kid because I was too much of a mess. Meanwhile, Trump was fucking models, probably sexually assaulting random people in his teenage years and floating on a cushion of money. This guy has never had a consequence. But I don't think that's how his story ends. You see, people with personality disorders, they aren't master manipulators. When I was canceled, people kind of portrayed me as this Machiavellian super like manipulative, like the type of person that doesn't really exist outside of the highest levels of like finance, right? But those behaviors, the reason we think people with borderline, narcissism, even bipolar, even something like oppositional defiance disorder, or any of the personality disorders that cluster, antisocial personality disorder, that cluster around problems with communication and empathy, those people aren't master manipulators. They're crazy. They're hurting themselves. It's called mental illness because they're sick. Does Trump seem like a happy guy? No, he's always explaining it. Since we've met him, he's been explaining how he was wrong and how great he is and how he doesn't deserve it. I'm fascinated by him. And I'm really going to enjoy to see him destroyed, but I'm very nervous about all of you, you know? I'm nervous about all of you. Why was I canceled? I was a destructive, toxic, unfaithful, dishonest, emotionally unstable, arrogant, aggressive, super promiscuous, successful guy living in LA in my 20s. And I made a tremendous amount of bad mistakes and hurt a lot of people, enough that they felt comfortable trying to destroy my life. Interestingly, the people I've most hurt in my life were not involved. But that's because they're adults. But you know, so yeah, this live stream is going away. Yeah, so I've spent the last like 3 years in therapy and like processing it. So I'm just letting it. I hope everybody's good. Transistor, nice job bagging a Canadian chick. Who's a Canadian chick? My girlfriend isn't Canadian. My girlfriend's from South Dakota, and she's an editor. How much do you write in a day? Okay. Oh, someone said Canadian chick. I'm guessing that's Kyle. All Kyle talks about is his Canadian girlfriend. And you know, in the old days, when someone talks about their Canadian girlfriend, I don't want to like this yet. This is my last one. You see this? If you have a glass planet and you see me smoking one of these, you say you're a bad boy, Max. Started smoking these because a character in the book I'm writing smokes them. And he spread it to me. Yeah, fuck those people. That's exactly how I feel, but also fuck me. It's all karma. You know, when public shaming feels like such like an outsized, like operatic, crazy thing. But, you know, being canceled isn't a thing. Cancellation is fear. It's the fear it puts into everyone you know, everyone who loves you, everyone who would try to help you. It's the fear it puts into you that you don't know yourself. It's the fear it puts into you that you'll never be able to repair mistakes from the past. It's totally destructive. It's nakedly destructive. It's, you know, it's one of those manifestly bad things that everyone knows is bad. And people are like, well, it got Harvey Weinstein. No. Me Too didn't get Harvey Weinstein. Vanity Fair didn't get Harvey Weinstein. That guy was always going to jail. Like, there's giant NYPD investigation. It's so weird. Anyway, it doesn't matter if you believe it or not, Eric, because the truth is you don't know me. And if you've watched like Jim Can't Swim or true crime videos, you know that a guy talking is just words, you know? If I was like a real sociopath, you know, like you'd never know because I'd be so good at I probably wouldn't be like, yeah, I guess I kind of deserved it, but you know. Okay. Let's refocus. I'm actually doing very well, Loki. I'm a little stressed out due to COVID and the fall of America, but I'm excited to see all of you. And I'm excited to get into this. So we're going to start reading now. Is that okay? Is it too dark in here? How's the light? How's the light? Eric, I appreciate you trying to be nice. But what matters is you like my art, you know? I like you for liking my art because I'm a sucker. Okay, novel. Lighting good. Okay. Let me build a cut. since the beginning of my career, people have asked me how I write so much. People have almost always asked me this. One of the first things I did as a screenwriter was release a list of all the scripts I had actually finished. And at that point, it was over 100 scripts, and I'd sold like 2 movies. This was because writing for me is a stress behavior. It's an anxiety behavior. I am soothed by writing, and I'm incredibly lucky that I ended up that way. But a lot of it has to do with how isolated I was as a kid. And I had multiple paracosms, big fictional worlds in my head, all hundreds of characters. The thing is, I was so manic when I was a kid and all over the place as I banged the desk that I don't remember the majority of the things I've written. Like I wrote them in a fugue. This is one of them. This is a novel, or at least part of a novel I tried to read some of on live stream a while back. You'll notice even as a child, there are posters. There are posters for my novel and a cover page. Also, quality picture of me, my sister, and my mom being menaced at the San Diego Zoo. Now, originally, I got caught up because there's a story at the top of my novel called Origin, which tells the story of a guy named Gregory Perry who gets basically a lethal dose of radiation, but is transformed into a superhero. And somehow, as he tries to commit suicide, he lives. So you'll see at this time I didn't have access to, the nicest computer. So I wrote most of my novels on a word processor called an AlphaSmart. An AlphaSmart was a tool for kids with severe learning disabilities who had trouble handwriting. I used it as an opportunity to write during class. And I was in special ed all day, so they weren't really teaching us much, just sort of wrangling us. So without any further ado, I present to you Fault Line. Fault Line by Max Landis. Prologue. Things grow. Things grow in the desert. The deserts of the American Southwest are a maze of red stone mountains, Joshua trees, and sand dunes. The heat in the deserts is oppressive. It seems to lay on you like a blanket, a soft blanket made of steel wool. When you drive in the deserts, you feel lost, no matter what the map might say. Things grow in the desert. Plants don't spring up in rows. In the desert, there is no order. There are no farmers or gardeners to keep things tidy. When a plant dies in the desert, it stays put until the wind or the weather knocks it over, an effigy to itself. I knew what effigy meant. Is it possible my big problem is I haven't gotten any smarter since I was 15? Because I'm reading this, and as usual when I read my own writing, it's not great, but I'm not like screaming. I'm sure we'll get to the scream lines soon. Sometimes a passing animal will get a free lunch. Often by stopping, this passing animal will become something else's lunch. That's the way it goes. Things die in the desert, but things grow in the desert. The sand heats up in the sun, eventually reaching baking heat that reaches through the soles of your shoes and turns them into boiler ovens. Your toes sweat like sausages and slide against each other like little piglets in their sty as things grow in the desert. To a person in the desert, 10 and 50 years both look the same. They look like sand. Sand dripping in an hourglass, sand wearing down the blade of the mind, sand turning time to dust. 1,000 years might pass, and the only thing one might judge it by is the passing of the tumbleweeds. The lonely, blind tumbleweeds going nowhere fast, and yet things still grow in the desert. The tumbleweeds, simple seed balls that somehow move with such poetry, such truth, the truth of the wind. Blind without eyes, the tumbleweeds push forward. The desert revolves around the tumbleweeds with their empty, truthful judgment, dropping seeds where need be, supplying the sand with life. I got another things grow in the desert here, and as I look at the page, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, like, what am I trying to do? I think I'm Stephen King. Like, so much of my early writing is like repetition, subversion, description, repetition, subversion. Like, nothing's happened. And that's fine because it's a novel and it's like pretty writing, but like, we get the trick, dude. Things grow in the desert, Max. You wonder how with coyotes, with their thick, dirty fur, can manage out here. The truth is, they can't. Some become apathetic, slovenly, and even tame out of their own loneliness and hunger. They wander the desert without purpose, waiting for fate to give them a meal. One day, perhaps they will find that purpose. One day, they will find that meal. Perhaps the desert will bring it to them. But others become feral and violent and will attack if encountered. They kill, but don't eat. They kill for the sheer joy of killing. They kill for the fear of being killed. The desert brings to them the love of murder and violence. Things grow in the desert. High above in the cool, cloudless blue sky, an eagle soars, catching thermal waves, lifting itself higher and higher. The eagle is content with its own brand of justice, the brand of truth it has learned from its parents, its ancestors. It kills only when it must to survive and fights only when it has to. The eagle is, by our estimation, noble. Things grow in the desert. A turtle wanders in the desert, its shell shifting slowly with each step. The turtle's back is weathered and scarred. It has lived in the desert forever and will live there undisturbed. By the way, wrong form of there. Live there undisturbed until it dies, if it ever dies. It goes to find water. It creates its own truth and makes its own path through the emptiness. Things grow in the desert. A snake wriggling happily in the searing sand follows the turtle. The snake slithers, pondering what it will do next. It killed and ate its family at a young age. Such is what snakes do. It follows the turtle blindly, trusting that it will be led on the right path, trusting that the feral coyote will not hurt it, trusting in the turtle. Can you guess what it says here, guys? Anyone want to guess? Things grow in the desert. Is Gizmo like moving around behind me and you guys are all terrifically bored and just sort of being like, Gizmo? Man tries his hand in the desert. He tries to survive against its giants, the coyotes, the eagle, the tumbleweed, the snake, the turtle. Man follows the turtle to find water and is led to a poison well. Man hunts the coyotes and finds himself bitten. Man cannot catch the tumbleweed and is outslithered by the snake. The eagle watches but does not involve himself. Eventually, the man gets back in his fucking Dodge Durango and goes back to the main rows, chastised, but feeling he has learned something, unsure what. The desert is not his place. The desert is a place of good and evil, black and white. The desert is a place of gods, a place that is a god, and a place without a god. Things grow in the desert. What am I talking about? Like, what is this? Is it like a long poetry about the desert? It does feel like camouflage. Yeah, I feel like things grow in the desert. Yeah. We have reached our first big cringe moment. End prologue. Prelude. Bitch, you're 15. Start the book. A circle of desert frozen in time. Someone said take a shot every time I say desert. Don't. A circle of desert frozen in time, shimmering in the morning sun off its unlikely transparencies. A circle of desert with a circumference of 20 miles. A circle of glass. At the circle's center lays a figure. It does not move. In one hand it holds a knife, in the other a piece of blue cloth. In the strong gusts of post-apocalyptic... Here we go, guys. In the strong gusts of a post-apocalyptic breeze make its hair flit back and forth and its clothes blow up to reveal the figure's body. The figure lays on its back, oblivious to everything, unmoving. A skeleton is pushed gently back and forth in the strong morning wind on the figure's right, and on its left, the second figure crawls slowly towards the first. A dead man without a head rests chest down, hands still grasping a lock of pale blonde hair. 10 meters out from the figure, there's the wreck of a car, half sunken in the melted asphalt of what used to be a desert road. A single man, half naked and bloody, stands on its hood, peering towards the figure with impossibly clear vision. A second figure, a burnt man, lays still on the sand next to the road. A third figure lays on the ground, the shifted, mutated, rippled surface of the road, and laughs, a sullen laugh. Hell of a show, wouldn't you say? Says the laughing man. The man who stands on the hood of the car frowns. You think it's over? The man jumps down off the hood of the car and looks at his feet. Yeah, I think so. In the distance, the sound of 100 screaming babies echoes off the big sandy emptiness. It hits the point where the sand becomes glass and the screams are amplified into their true form. Sirens, police, EMTs, fire departments. Behind them ride the heralds of public opinion. Over 40 television news vans, called this like the end of the henchman, called away from the nearby Lipton by news of a nuclear explosion. But closer than the sirens, maybe only a couple feet down from the explosion's epicenter, there's a sound unmistakable worldwide, except for perhaps the growling of a lion. A motorcycle is revving its engines. The big throaty roar of a Harley-Davidson motorcycle. The fault line has ended, and things have died in the desert. End prelude. The fault line begins. Okay, here we go. It begins with something called The Other, Archibald Richard Smith. The opening hums of Thurston Harris's Little Bitty Pretty One almost shook Archie's apartment as he slid, butt naked, into his kitchen. So I'm writing real cinematic now. Oh, it's Gizmo. Gizmo break. Okadoka. Gizmo. Sorry. It's so rare you have a cat like come over and be like, I want to say hi to you. Oh my God. How's everybody doing in the chat? Let's look. You see, I literally, Gizmo came, he purring. Yeah, you're a good boy. It's literally like a monkey. He uses his hands like a monkey. Like, see how he's like hugging my hand? Oh, literally like, oh. Gizmo, do you see the things moving? He's watching the chat. He's mad because, that's my Gizmo affection. But yeah, he didn't like that. Giz, do you want to go? Is there a chiller cat in the world? Like, literally, I'm so lucky to be with my girlfriend, but the fact that she brought this, like, baby Yoda with her, but it's real, and I'm allowed to touch it whenever I want. And I'm allowed to, like, and he smells like freshly baked bread. Okay. Don't touch the hat. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, Gizmo is hers. Gizmo is technically ours now. I am Gizmo's father. Okay. Do you want to? So glad you guys enjoyed Shadow in the Cloud. They put me in a funny position on that, didn't they? Oh, it's so different from the script. He's not involved. Funny position to be put in, especially because the movie's great. I'm like, okay, guys. You guys see that Maude Garrett thing? The goblin masks never smell awful because I don't sweat in them. We'll really start the book in a second, but I'm just hanging out with my followers. Everything's weird. So this goblin mask is this is like Tony Stark. I have a whole bunch of them. This is the V5. This is the Batman mask. So no mouth, chin strap, no eyes. And as you can see inside, the goblin masks that aren't hard cast are latex. So even though, like, you would think this thing would smell, it's hard not to be the goblin once I have it on. It's just, I really feel it. It's like electric. But I clean them and how do I make those? This is a hand-painted, hand-carved Halloween mask, but some of them are full builds from scratch, and some of them are custom masks. Some of them are paintball masks. I have some real cool ones I made that are going to be in the music video because they're a little bit more elaborate than this. I have this thing called the War Goblin that I'm going to wear. That's pretty cool. You called one of your masks Dolega Mostowish after a Polish writer. Yeah, the captions on the Golden Goblin account are interesting, aren't they? A lot of them are, well, because your Ronald Reagan mask is a mask of the second worst president in United States history, which is probably why it smells bad, is because Reagan's decrepit Alzheimer's and hatred of the poor and the mentally ill is leaking through it. Are you currently reading any comics? No, I'm reading a book called The Three Body Problem that I'm really enjoying. And with my girlfriend, I recently reread my favorite graphic novel of all time, Asterius Polyp. Do my Aaron Scott? I got you one better than Aaron Scott. I write out of anxiety. So I wrote, it's like 10 pages long. I'm going to put it on Instagram. I'm sure 6 people will read it. But I wrote the Joker's first encounter with Batman in the American Alien universe. You know, the reason Kryptonian Epic is happening is because I'm so stressed out. And I like to create to unwind. And so as coronavirus got worse and worse and worse, and as I sort of became aware that the whole Trump thing was going to have the bad ending, I've really gone hard into this fan fiction film. That's like a film. Do you guys want to hear the finished Lex Luthor song? Nixon is not a terrible president. Nixon is a shitty, villainous guy who did a criminal thing. But if you look at what he got accomplished while in office, civil rights, baby. Like, he ended the Vietnam War. It's like he's a piece of shit, but I didn't have to listen to him like stoke white supremacists on Twitter. So no. Nixon's a criminal and a piece of shit, but he's not like Reagan, who destroyed the country in the name of the wealthy and changed the Republicans from, conservatives to radicals. The conservatives have been radicals for years. They're trying to police women's bodies. What are you, Shiite Muslims? Like, come on. I grew up. I'm 35. I grew up in a world where I watched the Republicans become the party of the people who are racist. Even though all Republicans weren't racist, if you were racist, odds are you're Republican. And I grew up in that world and I went, how is it possible that this political party exists when, the KKK got kicked out of the Democrats? They got disavowed. The FBI was started to fight the KKK. Like, America has like a history of being pretty progressive. How is this happening? And then see it all blossom like this. Sorry, we're just chatting. People always ask me, I'll answer the 2 questions that people ask me the most. Do you still talk to Red Letter Media? I still email with Mike sometimes. He and I got along when I went. Me and Jay didn't. Mike and I are sort of similar types of guys in very weird ways. Jay and I, very different types of guys. And then Mike and Jay are similar types of guys. So it wasn't a great fit. And I was very starstruck. But Mike and I have talked many times since then, just casually, little exchanges as friends. And then Jenny Nicholson. People still ask if I talk to Jenny. Jenny's interesting because she and I actually really only became good friends after my first public shaming. And, when you're a young woman, guy a lot of gossip about, you like spending time with him. I had a girlfriend, so it wasn't, me and Jenny were never going to be like an item, but we really got along as friends. We had a very special chemistry and kind of a similar worldview. But then, I got shamed again. And Jenny wasn't like one of my best friends. She was like a business friend. And I was like suicidal and like addicted to Ambien and sending people all sorts of weird messages. Like, I don't blame Jenny for not talking to me anymore. I don't hold it against her. What I blame her for is not uploading more of her fucking fire content. I don't understand how so many people like Jenny, in that ecosystem, they're very content to be doing what they're doing. And I don't get it. There's that one guy, Patrick S. Wilhelms. And that guy really tries to do big, cool stuff for his videos. But the thing of his shit is it's so indulgent. It's literally just him and his friends talking in rooms, and the dialogue isn't funny. So, like, you're just waiting for him to get to the insight about film. And it ends up, especially in his, he did one on, what's his name? You know, fucking, who's that director who now only makes like digital movies? And then he made the Welcome to Dollville movie with Steve Carell. What's that guy? Jenny Nicholson is a YouTuber who made her break by ripping off the pitch video format, but is just generally a deeply, one of those people who you meet them and you're like, oh, you're like a genius, but you don't use it in a way that, because she's like a genius. She's playing 5D chess with pop culture, but she's like perfectly happy to like buy all the merchandise and not create anything herself. And I don't fully, that's a different type of person than I am, but I respect the shit out of what she does. She's brilliant. Yeah, Zemeckis. So Patrick Willems did this fucking video about Robert Zemeckis, but he did his own filmmaking in between it. Like trying to like, but what that did was change it from a review into like, yeah, I'm actually a filmmaker and this is a film. That's why I made Toy Story. Because it pissed me off. Because I was like, oh, it's a film, but the film is you walking around talking. If you're going to make a movie about Robert Zemeckis' career, you better have animation in it. You better be wearing silly costumes. There better be crazy visuals. It has to at least pay tribute to the fact that Robert Zemeckis is a legendary filmmaker. Exactly. Yeah, I made Toy Story because, you know, the triptych, eventually I'll finish Cats, but the triptych is all about film YouTube, which became less relevant because of coronavirus, because my big message at the end of the triptych is what the fuck is happening to content. Movies are now content. TV is now content. The idea of cinema is functionally antique. So where are we going? If more people are watching YouTube videos shitting on the movie Cats than actually watched Cats, what is our society? What does that mean? Why isn't anyone asking that? It's like the ultimate like postmodern. I don't know how much you guys get into postmodern philosophy. I go deep. I didn't destroy the lives of any women. All the women involved in me seem to be doing really, really well, actually. I'm trying to think of a woman's life who I destroyed. Successful screenwriter, successful YouTube personality, director, never did anything, always wanted money, continues to never do anything. Current girlfriend doing great. I mean, I you know, when you hurt someone, oftentimes they'll phrase it as you destroyed my life, especially if you really hurt them and really stepped over a line. But an important thing to remember in conflict resolution and in moving through trauma is to not calcify and magnify and to learn and grow. And, you know, that's how I've approached the things that have been done to me. You know, I almost never talk about my trauma because I don't. What's the point? Oh, Max Land, I'm a victim too. You know, it's like, I don't have any victims. Although I guess I am a victim now. I definitely have people I've hurt. But thank you for asking. No, it's so interesting. That's what's so fascinating about cancel culture is people think they're good guys. And yet this guy has shown up to antagonize me. Because what cancel culture really is permission. Humans hate rules. We hate that we're constrained by all these rules. We hate that we can't just do the things we want. Why can't we just arrest Trump now? Why can't I just hit that guy who is so mean to me? Oh, that person said something to me earlier and it hurt my feelings. Ugh, I wish I could go back. John Schnapp was a nice guy. I never knew him really well. But what it really is permission. Now you're allowed to treat a canceled person however you want. That's what being canceled is. It's not your career. It's not anything like that. It's open public permission. This person's bad. Treat them however you want. So people are excited to be cruel. The messages I got, people loved writing them. You can tell when someone's really in it, trying to hurt you. People tell me what a bad writer I am. Oh, I'm a bad writer. People think I'm a monster. Okay, I get it. I'm a bad writer. Got it. It's fascinating. Sorry, I miss the desert too. You guys want to go back to Archibald, listening to Little Bitty Pretty One? No, York the Cookie Monster. Okay, we ready for this? We ready for more reading? Is there any Marvel character you would give the American alien treatment? No. Superman's the only guy who needs it. Do we want to go back to reading? Yeah. Let's go back to the desert. I'm sorry I got sidetracked in my usual bullshit. This is why I take these down. You look gay. Really? Thank you. Here we go. I'm trying to get this in frame. Okay. Patrick, what is it with you in the Shocker sequel? What is it really, Patrick? We're going to do this now. As long as we're like wandering around in between the reading. What is it? What is it with you in the Shocker sequel? This guy, Patrick, shows up constantly and just goes, Shocker sequel when? Shocker is a fan fiction novel I wrote when I was 18 that got a lot of attention at the time. When will I be answering writing questions about the measures? Maybe Thursday. Okay, guys, I'm very distracted. We're just like hanging out because I'm bored while my girlfriend's at her job. Riddler legit is the Kryptonian epic. The Kryptonian epic contains a lot of stuff I think you guys will like. Actually, you guys want to hear the full Lex Luthor song now, and then we'll go back in? Because I have the full Lex Luthor song. It's done, not just lyrics. Is my Batman slightly autobiographical with the personality disorders? Is my Superman is this slightly autobiographical? Is this slightly autobiographical? Is this slightly autobiographical? And people write what speaks to them, Okay, so Lex song or no? Yeah, let's hit it. We're going to do the song. We're going to go back to reading, and then I'm going to get off after I finish whatever this chapter is. But here's the song, Uberman, from the Kryptonian epic.
Determinism, such a grand philosophy. And through that lens, I think you'll find the only light that shines is me. I'm an above average man with a superior plan to shape the world just how I'm intending. And if you saw my blueprints, you'd see some sense to it. Your world is not worth defending. Smartest, strongest, bravest, shortest and richest too. Related to Alexander the Great and Einstein. Of course that isn't actually true. Think you've caught me in a lie? Let me tell you something I learned in my youth. Sometimes my enemy isn't mere men. My enemy is the truth. So show me your game. I'll win it. There's a reason the word supreme has me in it. Yes, I'm a king. The world forgot royalty. Yet I sing. Change the world, I can. And no matter what the fake news tells you, there's only one Superman. You see, these issues mankind is facing could be run a little smoother. No matter what the question is, the answer's always Luther. Can't keep up, just forget it. I'm your superior, it's genetic. I'll be on top forever. Greatness is not a sin. And if you think of playing me,
Get a good spoiler, I win. Wrestling isn't wrestling reference in there. Okay, sorry. The Kryptonian epic is not a musical, but contains multiple musical numbers. The Kryptonian epic contains everything I love and everyone I love currently in my life is part of it. Thank you so much. It's one of 4 original songs, possibly 5 if I give Lois Be There and See It, which is her big Moana How Far I'll Go song. Be there, see it, in the place where it's good, but I have to get it recorded and it costs money and that's hard. Okay. Heard a rumor. It's meant to be like Be Prepared. It's meant to be like a Disney villain song. My Lois Lane is my second favorite character in the entire Kryptonian epic. And my first one's Superman, so you're going to love what happens with... You're going to love it. I don't know. It's cool to be like looking at the animation as it comes in and being like, wow, people are... Literally, it's going to be really good. Like, lower your expectations. It's going to be bad. But I haven't been known not to deliver on YouTube. I'm really going for it. Okay. We're looking at June for Kryptonian Epic. This is an animated film containing live action sequences, musical numbers, multiple forms of animation, stop motion animation, motion comics, art collage, and live action mixed with motion, as well as original live action, including the Joker and Harley Quinn live. You're going to get to see my versions of those characters. And it looks like a movie. It's amazing now with technology. If you know a little bit about film production and you have some friends who went to film school and you have a little bit of money from Netflix, you'd be amazed what you can do for $3,000. It's like, what the fuck? This is a movie with the Joker in it. Sorry, I'm just having fun now, guys. Max, do you think with COVID getting on that Bright might actually get a Razzie this year? It would be great if Bright won something. And claymation is in it. There is a claymation sequence, although I don't want to tell you which one. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm so all over the place. Who is playing Joker and Harley? Well, I can't be playing Aaron Scott because he is a black guy. So I cast an actor who's kind of brilliant. Not a famous actor, but a working actor, and he does an incredible job. The story. Well, we're not going back to the... Yeah, my Joker is a black guy named Aaron Scott, who is an art student who is fascinated with the rise of superheroes and decided, hey, I should become a supervillain. Like, literally all I need to do is cause a bunch of chaos and put on a costume and I'll be famous. So he deliberately antagonized Batman. And it worked. He became incredibly famous. And that's how the Joker started. But my Joker's just a guy. Like, he couldn't fight Batman at all. He would get rocked. He's just a guy he has no morals because he's doing an art project where the character he's playing has no morals. Yeah, he's a postmodern Joker. He's a Joker doing an impression of the Joker. And what's fun is my version of the Joker does the other Jokers as kind of a meta wink. Okay, sorry. Next projects in mind. I have a book coming out. There's some other stuff in the pipeline, bigger projects. Also, Jane in Jane LA, Jane Ryers is insane. Jane Ryers is like, if you've seen my short film, Jane LA, it's about a sort of manic pixie dream girl who's doing a project. She wants to bring people together by building and setting off a bomb. But she's clearly harmless, so there's no way that's going to happen. You should watch it. It's cool. It contains a great performance in it. Okay. Enough! Let's see how much of this there is. Okay. This is manageable. Here we go. The opening hums of Thurston Harris' Little Bitty Pretty One almost shook Archie's apartment as he slid butt naked into his kitchen. He liked to walk around naked listening to loud music, especially very early in the morning. It not only annoyed the neighbors, it made him feel alive. Then again, annoying stupid animals tended to make him feel alive as well. He especially liked tugging on a dog's tail and then acting innocent when the dog looked at him, only to do it again when the dog looked away. He cracked open the fridge and peeked in. A variety of smells assaulted him, and he chose the food item that stunk the least, a piece of roast chicken breast and gravy. His mother had sent it to him as a birthday present. He was now officially 24. The tousled brown mess atop his head shook like an animal as he carried the plate of chicken from the fridge to the microwave. Archie was by no means a bad person, but sometimes his morals got confused in the name of fun. His father had been the first to notice this. It had been his 7th birthday, and Archie had received a kitty archaeologist kit from his Aunt Sydney. Archie had been thrilled and had promptly gone out and intentionally dug up 4 old family pets so as to examine their bones. Fuck, this is good as shit. Sorry. But I'm just high on my own supply as usual. Then, because he thought it would be funny, he'd snuck the skull of Marbles, his mother's favorite cat, under her pillow. That's funny, right? It's a prank. The ensuing mayhem, while certainly fun, had cost Archie 4 months of social contact with friends and almost a year's allowance. The 5 a.m. light welled over his body's dips and curves. Archie was slowly beginning to develop a beer gut and losing the somewhat toned physique 8 years of non-optional gym class will give you. He peered out the window at the town of Marysbrook, Nevada. It was a pretty place, full of life in the summers, but dead as a doornail in the winter, which is, figuratively, extremely dead and perhaps never alive. Which is, figuratively to say, it was so very dead that it seemed to have never been alive at all. You know, like a doornail. Archie had moved there out of a desire to stay as far away as possible from his family. They loved him and he loved them, sure, but they tended to nag a lot and ask him to do things he didn't really want to do, such as visit his brother Harold. Harold Smith had been a rising football star until another rising star, this one a nightclub singer, had decided to get a little risen off vodka and take a meteoric drive. Go for it, 15-year-old Max. What was left of Harold's spinal column allowed him to move his left hand and parts of his face, but nothing else. He now communicated with a small voice box, intended to chant, "I was robbed," whenever angered. Miss Smith had told Archie to go and see him at least 7 trillion times, in Archie's estimation. She said, "He's so lucid now. It's like he's not damaged at all." So Archie went, and from what he saw, Harold was very rarely lucid and very easily angered. "I was robbed. I was robbed. All of it gone. I want it back. I was robbed." Archie snorted up some snot that had been clogging his nose, and then noisily cleared his throat and hacked the offending glob of green liquid into his garbage. He walked back to the microwave and checked the timer. 40 seconds left. Archie had no close friends and hadn't had sex in at least 3 weeks. That's not a long time to have not had sex for a guy who I'm describing this way, for real. The last time was with a girl at an acquaintance's office party that Archie hadn't technically been invited to. Most of Archie's romantic relationships tended to be one-night stands. He still wasn't sure why this was. Maybe it was because he tended to yell during sex. He'd finished college with only mediocre grades. School just didn't seem to be his thing. So without any great schooling, without a social life to speak of, and thanks to a messy incident with a fry-later machine, no job, Archie marched, or rather slouched, into his 24th year. The timer on the microwave beeped, and Archie looked up just in time to see his kitchen window shatter from the impact of what looked like a tiny shooting star, which then flew into his kitchen and blew straight through Archie's chest, sending elegant arcs of blood jetting out onto the stained tile floor. The ball of light, having passed through Archie, struck the floor, and Archie's apartment exploded. Let's fucking go! Let's go! Someone asked if this guy's a self-insert of me at 15. Absolutely not. This is a whole other guy. This guy pulling dog's tails and shit. How creepy was that thing with his brother? It's funny because that's good. I'm going to steal that and use it in something. I was robbed. That's so disturbing. Self-idealization. No, are all my characters self-inserts? What an interesting question. No, but the majority of my characters represent ideas or experiences that I've had in my real life. That none of them are directly me, but they all represent things I've really experienced, at least emotionally. That's why so many of my stories are about outsiders. And so few of them are about sort of a normal Joe character. And the majority of my protagonists are strange people or losers or weirdos. What is the project I'm most proud of? Probably American Alien. I don't know, maybe Dirk. I'm proud of all of them in different ways. That's like saying which kid. Okay. Which DC HBO Max film would you make? Superman. Superman. And they'll never let me. But I'd rock your socks. And it wouldn't be American Alien either. I'd do the thing people have been waiting for. I would do a straight up Superman movie. Opening of the movie, Lois wakes up to her alarm, goes for a run, gets home, Clark's still in bed. Like that. You know, like they're a couple that lives in Metropolis. She's a reporter for a big thing. He's an independent reporter who works for them, but you know, has his own money and also is Superman in his spare time. And I think I would do Metallo. I think I would do Luthor and Metallo, but I would have Luthor almost a good guy. Because I would have Luthor have it go out of control and then it's revealed. I would make Lex Luthor being bad a twist. I would treat the property like you've never seen Superman. No other heroes. Pete Ross is one of the leads. No fucking expanded, extended universe. Just a great Superman movie that after you watch it, it leaves you feeling like this. I mean, that's how I hope you feel after you watch the Kryptonian epic. Okay, can we get back to reading, guys? This guy just had a ball of light explode through his chest. Can we get back to reading, guys? Pulling the trigger and doing Hydro Man and Electro. That'd be cool. Okay, here we go. Second chapter. Okay, here we go. The Hemothymia. Jacques Renard. Okay, so interesting. Thymia refers to the thymic region of the brain, so usually controlling mood, but hemothymia, I've never heard that word. Wow. That word is a long extinct Greek word that means a morbid craving for blood or impulse to murder. I wonder how I found that word. Well, let's learn about him. His name is Jacques Renard. Okay, here we go. Yard time, prisoner 2771, yard time. 5 guards escorted the single chained man out into a barren fenced-in field. Jacques Renard, better known to his friends, of which he had none, as Jacques, was imprisoned 4 years ago at age 20 after killing his girlfriend, her father, a waiter, a cook, another waiter, and finally 3 police officers. The ones they found later, the ones in his basement, took his sentence from 3 consecutive life sentences to 40. He'd heard voices since he was 12, and had actually started doing their bidding when he was 16. First, just hobos, people they wouldn't miss, people who put up less of a fight than anyone else. And then he graduated to addicts, runaways, then hookers, then drifters. San Bernardino, California had not been a very fun place for those who wandered the streets. His head was always a torrent of noise, people talking, shouting, whispering, screaming, so many, so much sound, so much anger. Work, work, work had been his credo. Work, work, work all the time. The straitjacket was taken off, as were the arm and leg restraints, and Jacques' lanky body strided from one end of the field to the other. Sharona, his girlfriend, that was when things had gotten bad for him. Sharona was not a healthy young lady, and her fascination with Jacques, culminating in a seriously twisted sexual relationship, would be the end of her. Telling Jacques that she wanted to end their time together was a bad, bad move. Granted, she'd taken all the precautions one would be expected to take. She'd taken him out to a restaurant, brought her dad for backup, etc., and so on, but it hadn't helped much when she delivered the news. Jacques lunged across the table and jabbed a fork into her eye, and then slapped the back of the fork, driving it into her brain. Her father stood horrified and was greeted mid-step by a butter knife to the throat. Then a waiter fell to another butter knife, and Jacques, furious and gore-soaked, retreated into the kitchen, fleeing the screams in the restaurant. They were too loud with all the noise already in his head. A chef had tried to defend himself, but Jacques had first stabbed him with his own knife and then shoved his entire head into a bowl of hot grease. A second waiter had tried to save his friend, so Jacques had decapitated him with a meat cleaver and moved back out into the dining area, which was now empty, with 5 officers waiting for him. In the ensuing scuffle, Jacques was shot twice and managed to kill several of his attackers. He couldn't figure out why they were all so mad. The voices screamed at him as he strode around his tiny outdoor enclosure, feeling a lot like a zoo animal. They said the usual things, chants, rants, and onwards and upwards and onwards. I found one, said a Chinese-sounding man. Look at this, over here. Is that what I think it is? Is that a human eyeball? Said an old man. Shove the bottle up his ass. Shove it up his ass, make him shit himself in the bottle, said a little girl. He'd been trying to phase them out since first arriving at the prison. Being all alone with them in his cell at night nearly drove him crazy. Crazy, 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 and for a moment in Jacques' head there was silence. The hell is that? One of the guards said, squinting into the sky. Jacques looked where the guard looked, and his head was torn off his shoulders by a tiny ball of light, which then drove itself into the dusty ground. The ensuing fire wave tore apart the guards and left an immense crater in the harsh New Mexico landscape. Jacques' trembling figure still stood there in the center of the crater when the smoke and debris cleared several minutes later. It had its head back on. A new head had simply popped up where the old one had been. The new head looked around. Hello? Jacques said quietly. In the distance, he could hear the prison's alarm screaming into the desert. Jacques smiled and began to walk away from the crater. When he reached the edge of the ring of scorched sand, he took a tentative step out. And then another, and then another. Fat fishy, screamed a woman in his head, who began to shriek out of laughter. Jacques began to walk more steadily now. There was a crack and the sand near him exploded outward. Guns, Jacques thought. They're trying to shoot me. With guns. Jacques roared in anger and turned back towards the prison compound. Several snipers had set up along the outer walls, not damaged in the meteor strike or whatever the hell it was. Jacques winced his eyes at them, and then something completely unbelievable happened. When the unbelievable thing was done happening, Jacques, now drenched with blood, began heading eastward, walking with a purpose, though Jacques was not quite sure what his purpose was. Archie, or what was left of Archie, lay unmoving on the pavement. Pieces of plaster, furniture stuffing, and glass drifted down onto the sidewalk from the ruins of his apartment 3 stories above. The part that was left of Archie, his upper left shoulder, head, and neck, twitched. And then his mouth began screaming, letting out booming, inhuman screams that sounded like the noises a baby makes when it first comes out of its mother, shrieks of a whole new world of pain and horrifying possibility. This drew a crowd almost immediately. People stood and gawked up at the exploded apartment and gawked and watched as the thing that had been Archibald Richard Smith slowly regrew its body. First the bones, which grew out of each other like coral, then the muscle tissue, the organs inflating like balloons, and the muscle tissue weaving together, and then finally the skin pouring out like paint over the wet red flesh. The screams continued on for a couple of minutes and then went silent. Archie's empty, silent eyes stared up into the crowd of passerby. Why? What? Who are? The charred nerve endings of Archie's brain slowly healed themselves. What happened? The passerby stared down at Archie. Archie stared blank-faced back up at the passerby. His naked body twitched, and then something odd started to happen to his skin. It began to change color and crinkle, and then finally puff out into clothes. The bystanders collectively gasped. Archie stood, fell back down, and then stood up again, shakily, his legs wobbling. The crowd of bystanders had formed a ring around his body. Now that he stood, the ring had quickly expanded. People gasped and whispered to each other. This is so crazy. I wrote this before cell phones. So now I'd have to write that they were all filming with their phones, but this is not bad at all. This is tight. I'm in, sorry. Bye, Brendan. I'm just going to finish. I'm going to get to this part, and then we're going to be done for the day. I hope, was this fun to hang out? I'm having fun hanging out. Okay, let's find out what's turning into Archie. Just grew clothes out of himself. Archie had the look of someone either very tired or very hurt. He kept blinking one eye and then the other. The truth is, he was feeling all of the pain of having his entire body torn off. Even the regrown tissue couldn't erase the nerve memory, which screamed insanely at his brain to stop being so silly and lay back down and die. The sound of sirens, that's a trend, could be heard fast approaching. Archie collapsed back down onto the pavement, face first, breathing hard. Down the street, he heard the distinctive sound of a Harley-Davidson motorcycle revving its engine. Archie jotted it down in his brain. There was something funny about that rev, something almost alive. It sounded like a lion, or maybe he was just hallucinating from the pain. Paramedics surrounded Archie and gently slipped him onto a stretcher and put him in a neck brace. Archie's pain was slowly subsiding, and he became aware of the noise that surrounded him. You're saying he fell out of the explosion? That's what the eyewitnesses say. They say it was just a small part of him, and then the rest of him grew. One of the paramedics looked confused. The other paramedic who'd taken him into the ambulance was talking in hushed tones now. He watched through the slight haze. One of them lifted a syringe and emptied its excess fluid. Archie's eyes widened. Hysteria will do that to people. They don't know what the fuck they saw. Mass hallucinations and all, said the paramedic who held the needle. Archie managed to lift an arm and gently grasped Needleman's leg. No needles, Archie whispered. Sorry, pal, we got to get you on a morphine drip. It's just standard procedure after a guy has fallen 30 feet. My God, my prose, I think, is really relatively strong, but my dialogue is shameful and embarrassing. Someone get Bateman out of here. Yeah, yell it all you want. Trump, Trump, yell it all you want. I'll do you myself, my friend. I'll put a bullet in your head myself. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. It's kind of sexy to just shkaboom, and he's invisible. Ah, that's lovely. Okay, do you guys want to finish this? I say yes. Okay, so here we go. I think it's really weird that they're re-releasing Justice League. Like I do. I think it's really weird that they're releasing the Snyder Cut. It's more to what I'm saying. They're releasing a fucking work cut of a movie. Everything's content. Like, fabooey. Okay. Okay, I'm almost done. I can just yinky bobinky. Well, it appears, from what I can see, the Ayer cut of what? Suicide Squad? You know I've seen the Ayer cut of Suicide Squad. They shouldn't do that. They shouldn't release that. They shouldn't release that. Why are they doing this? No, of course not. There's no version of Suicide Squad that's good. One is a really indulgent mess, and one is the studio stitching together a really indulgent mess. Like, how do you think I saw it? I was like friends with David Ayer until production started and he stopped talking to me. You know, you're busy, David Ayer. You know, you're busy with, you know, you got your show. Let me just handle it. Wait, so you made the villain a sexy witch? Don't do that. No, you'll see. It's just a lot more. It's just endless more scenes. It's all the stuff from the cut you saw, plus a lot more like that. That's what it is. It's Suicide Squad, but now also this is here. So if you felt like you didn't like watching Suicide Squad, Do you want to watch this much Suicide Squad? Hey, man, you guys don't like. Hey, you like this ice cream? No, shit flavored ice cream? I don't want that. Oh, you want 30 pounds of shit flavored ice cream released exclusively on HBO Max? I don't get it. There should never be a film about my life. There should be multiple films about my life. I've been multiple different characters. I'd want multiple different actors. Oh my God, guys, you keep pulling me off to like talk about bullshit. Stop. I'm trying to read bullshit. Okay. Chicka. This guy doesn't like needles, but he's invincible. This guy just doesn't know what's good for him. Probably got conked on the head with a falling piece of debris when that place went up in flames. Concussion or something. Yeah, that sounds like a paramedic. Concussion or something. No, I'm fine, Archie said more firmly. Sure, bud, the other paramedic said. Archie had been terrified of needles since he was a baby. He didn't need one now, not after he'd just fallen out of his exploding apartment. He'd had enough to think about, primarily how he was still alive and how the rest of his body had grown back. And also, wait, I didn't put on clothes this morning. How am I now wearing clothes? But the needle came closer and closer to his skin. Ow, Archie said as the needle punctured his skin. Bastard. Archie's arm ripped loose from its restraints. The two paramedics stared blankly at the raised arm, unsure of how to react. The needleman shook his head blankly and said, Those restraints have a 400-pound hold. That's not possible. But the arm had changed. It twisted, and the elbow snapped away. Where there had been the chubby arm of an out-of-shape young man, there was now a hugely muscular limb, inflating rapidly 4 times its original length. Jesus, he's like the Thing. It touched the roof of the ambulance and bent, stretching sideways. Archie frowned. His other arm tore loose as well, and then both arms bent, as though they were wires, elbowless and boneless, bent down around until both hands were able to wrap around the needleman's throat, the fingers extending to completely enwrap his head. Cool. They shoved him backwards hard into a shelf of medical equipment. The noise caused the driver to turn around and take a glance at the back. Everything okay? Holy shit! The other paramedic, the one without the needle, was screaming and trying to cross over the stretcher to help her friend, who was being slammed against the equipment shelf. Archie's head lolled around sleepily. A third arm burst out of his chest and grabbed the second paramedic by the throat. The ambulance smashed into the back of a parked station wagon, and the driver was catapulted through the windshield, becoming a stain on the station wagon's roof. Though the doctor said he'd never walk again after... Though the doctor said he'd never walk again, after 30 years of intensive physical therapy, he was up and about in his rest home in Malibu. The doors on the back of the ambulance crashed outward, and the arachnid nightmare that launched itself out was not at all Archibald Smith. You know what? I'm going to read this whole thing on my own and find out if it's good. The holy shit is in there, but weirdly it's censored. You want to see something really funny? Look at this. I censored it with an asterisk. You know what's funny is that Jared Leto damage tattoo on his forehead. What's funny is anyone who gets a tattoo on their forehead, I mean, it might as well say damaged. And no, of course, Joker shouldn't be the main villain of a Suicide Squad movie. Joker shouldn't be in a Suicide Squad movie. Harley Quinn shouldn't be in a Suicide Squad movie. Suicide Squad should not be a movie until you have a fucking cinematic universe with groups of defeated villains, which you don't have. So you have to try to introduce 50 villains. The reason the Suicide Squad comic was created was because DC had generated so many properties that they had no idea what the fuck to do with them. Captain Boomerang, Catman, these were characters with no future. So Suicide Squad was created as a story shelter. Suicide Squad, the comics, is an anthology series. It's not a superhero thing. You watch them all. By the way, how do you do a Suicide Squad movie where only one of them dies? Like, the whole thing of I'm sure James Gunn will like do one that's like funny and gunny and great, right? Like, but DC has a habit of indulging its directors, and it's a bad habit because I think James will do a great job. But I feel with Guardians 2, he kind of went a little too far. And I kind of lost track of the emotional stakes in the third act. I bet Suicide Squad will be good. And this time, I'm sure they'll kill John Cena immediately in some funny way, and they'll blow up that shark thing before they have to pay to animate it. It's just interesting. It's just weird. Joker shouldn't have been in Suicide Squad. It doesn't make any sense. It's just so weird. What else? Once some kind of Suicide Squad. Jack, I write all of my scripts with a theme in mind, or a message in mind, or an emotion in mind. The power of friendship and the destructive power of loneliness and isolation. The power of friendship and willingness to be curious about the world and accept things that you wouldn't normally accept and be interested in them. The power of love and self-actualization and partnership. Mr. Right is about romantic love and about finding someone on your level and how good that feels. Bright was about class, the script, and friendship and the differences between us and what really makes us different. Because you have to keep in mind, the script Bright is not like, the stakes are different than the movie. The script is not about the end of the world. It's about a mess in South LA where two cops who've known each other for years are suddenly divided along racial lines when one of them is an orc and one of them's a human. And the movie is not about that. The villains in the script for Bright were corrupt cops. And then Victor Frankenstein is about the power of genius and the power of creativity and how creativity can unite people. American Alien is about the power of kindness. The Kryptonian epic is humanist. It's centered around the idea that, humanity is a powerful and beautiful thing. And then The Henchman is about mental illness. And Higher is about love and mental illness. Deeper is about depression. Everything I write has a theme and a message. And I never preach because I think a good story never needs to preach. It can just show you. It can just show you, hey, holy shit, right? The preaching doesn't come. It's not about being evangelical. It's about being. It's about. Are we going to have a golden age of Hollywood again? No, certainly not. Certainly not. How much would I charge to teach a class of storytelling? I don't. And I do teach storytelling classes. I have them on hold right now because our country is in a violent revolution. Season 3 of Dirk Gently is really cool. And it's a shame. I'll never really feel comfortable fully pitching it because Arvind and Rob, as well as, of course, Sam, Elijah, Hannah, Fiona, everybody, Umpo, Dustin, all those people, all the different directors, all the other writers on the show. I wrote most of Dirk, but I didn't write all of it. I had a writer's room who were brilliant. I wrote most of the dialogue and I did the mysteries, but I'd feel weird. I would just feel weird pitching the third season, even though the third season is the best season because you finally get to, it's more like the first season where they're like, we're solving a mystery, except for the mystery. The mystery is really, it's as good as the mystery in the first season, I think. I had mysteries for 5 seasons. Yeah, me and Elijah are still friends. People who know me well in real life, It's sort of a different thing. Elijah was my friend before the industry. He was in Death and Return of Superman. He's a wonderful person. Elijah's such a special person. Why was Dirk canceled? Because BBC America only had one slot that they fill up one at a time, and Dirk was getting really great reviews. But ultimately, as they were shifting over and they wanted to try to figure out how to do digital, they were basically redoing BBC America and AMC, the two places we were working with, were basically redoing their own brand. And they wanted to do Killing Eve, which is great. So, like, no harm, no foul. But that didn't leave room for Dirk. And, when you have a show that's really well received, that gets solid but not stellar numbers, when you have that show on a network like AMC or really any of the premiums, you can go 3 seasons, 4 seasons. When you have it on one of the smaller premiums, like a BBCA, which is now doing this other big budget show, now that Killing Eve is either gone or done, or maybe they have 2 slots now, maybe they've partnered with someone else for digital. There's all these parts of the film industry that you don't get. That's the thing that like kills me, is I made myself so available to the internet, but I'm a working professional in a job that like really is complicated. So occasionally I do like, here's a pitch for this, but like the actual business side of this I never talk about. Dirk got killed because Dirk got killed just via the fucking happenstance, basically. What's the difference between monologue-based script writers like Tarantino and plot-based writers like you? Well, let's just keep doing this. I'll just keep streaming. I don't have anything to do. I'm going to write today. Some errands to do. I have to look at more land in Joshua Tree. If you guys want to... Is your heart beating or something? Oh, are you guys hearing like a thumping noise? Is that Arthur? That's either I live next to a Mexican family who are always throwing giant parties, even during COVID. And it's wonderful because you can always hear like kids partying and playing and people laughing. But then I live next to a guy who's an animator. And we're friendly, and I've lived next to him for years. But he always tells me, like, your music's too loud. This is too loud. And he's like my age, and we're friends. So it's like weird because it's like I'm the noisy neighbor. But I think that thumping noise you guys were hearing is him. And it's really exciting because for the first time ever, I might be able to tell Arthur to be quiet. Hold on. Oh my God. Oh. Planning on watching WandaVision? Fuck yeah. Okay, Tarantino versus Max Landis. Tarantino is not a monologue-based screenwriter. Tarantino is specifically a tribute artist. He is someone who specifically apes the feelings, visuals, sensations, ideas, performances, dialogue, editing, music of previous films that he's loved. Pretty much every single one of Tarantino's films, without exception, is a tribute to something else that evokes it heavily and steadily. Tarantino and I are ultimately similar styles of writer. On the page, Tarantino now writes like a director. He writes extremely, if you read his stuff, he writes extremely sparse because he's fucking Quentin Tarantino, and all he needs to do is be like, here's the script, and they'll generally give him money. So a lot of people write kind of crazy, but they kind of look slapdash, but of course they're brilliant. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I didn't like it, but it's not a bad movie. It's not a poorly constructed piece of cinema. Yeah, I adore Hitchhiker's Guide, and they should never make a adaptation. The only way to do Hitchhiker's Guide would be to do it as a massive open world video game, and I don't think they're going to do that. Oh my God. Oh, I poured Red Bull into my lungs. Okay. I feel like we did this today. Do me a favor. If you're a fan of mine, follow me on Instagram and like my posts and shit and like my other videos. I never say like and subscribe on my shit. But you know, when I got shamed, I like went away because I thought it was unhealthy for me to interact with social media. I went away and I got therapy and I like got my head together. But when I came back, my algorithm's like butt fucked. So like and subscribe, motherfucker. Okay, I gotta go. Wing Wang Wong. I gotta off and up out this beach. Doctor Who is for babies. What's it mean to be ratioed? What's that mean? Fuck you, Kyle. Fuck you, Kyle. Oh my God, Maude Garrett. How funny is Maude Garrett making up a story about me naming a character after? Sorry. Yeah, I don't know. It's sad because I think the Jurassic Park video and the Toy Story video are like among the best things I've done. Oh, I need lots of likes and comments. Fuck you, Kyle. I'll beat your ass. Dude, the Maude Garrett thing was so weird. I used to be part of like such a toxic crew of like social climbing, desperate people. And it was so funny because I never wanted to, hey, I never wanted to hang out with like Hollywood people. So I like tried to hang out with the geek community thinking that would be like a less incestuous and toxic. I was wrong. Do I think Quentin? Hey, Ricky, nice to see you, man. Congratulations on the thing you messaged me about. Do I think, is there a single spot to find all my stuff? No, when I was shamed, it all got deleted. Isn't that crazy? No one has recollected all the Max Landis stuff. I tried to handle the mod situation well. You know, I'm very against drama these days. You know, people, I think that video I gave advice to artists, I think like 3 people, you know, the right screenwriting manager, medium-sized company. You know, right now, everyone who's a writer needs to be writing, right? Because this chaos in America, I'm writing 3 scripts right now, just in case. Just in case. Writing a book. I'm not going to writers. I'm not trying to be like, you know, going to agents and being like Max Landis is going to come back to Hollywood. I'm doing it because right now, at this moment in American history, at this moment in human history, fiction's relation to reality is terrifying. It's terrifying. You know, QAnon is an ARG. It's an online role-playing game. And I just really believe that when we talk about like finding managers or finding agents, you know, I know those people in real life. They're all doing this right now. Is America gonna fall? Am I gonna be murdered? Like it, you know. So just get, no, this stream's going down. Just get writing done. Don't let the current nightmare. Don't let the current nightmare stop you, you know? You can think about business stuff in a couple of months because I hope things will be more normal then. America's not going to fall, Trencher, but I do think people are going to die. And I think there are going to be more deaths, and I think people are going to die who don't have to die. And that's frightening. Jack, writing multiple screenplays at once. I always say, chase what moves you. Follow the story that's coming easier to you. And once that stops coming, check if there's more stories somewhere else. Okay, I gotta go. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Thank you for hanging out with me today. Oh, hey, Hobbit Ninja. Long time no see. Was the Todd Phillips Joker a sign of things to come? Certainly seems more prescient than it did. But I think a movie that you might want to watch is called A Face in the Crowd. There's a movie called A Face in the Crowd, and I think you might really enjoy it because it's about narcissism. And the character in that movie is brilliantly portrayed. And you'll love it. A Face in the Crowd. It's a classic movie. But that really documents how Trump works and how all this is going to play out. Flying Squirrel says he feels like I'm a long friend. I want to take your script writing class soon in the future. I think you should. I think you should. I hope I can help everybody who watches this in one day, some way. Because you're certainly helping me right now. That was really fun to hang out with you all. Sorry, I'm just reading. This is becoming unlisted, yeah. Just because I feel I talked about the shaming too much, and I try not to do that too much. Try not to focus on that. Why do I enjoy listening to people tell stories more than movies and plays? It's a listening style. You're a unique human being. Okay, Jesus. I keep fucking... La Soul, good luck with rewriting my pitch. Okay, I'm finally gonna... Luke's returning success pitch? Who's Luke's returning success? Who is Luke? Yes, I do. I have a side story called Endangered Species. Okay, I'm going to do this because everyone kept asking this. This is the last thing. The American Alien Kryptonian epic in my head is like 9 graphic novels, 2 of which are shorter than the others. But in order, in release order, they go Superman American Alien, Superman Agent of Batman, Superman Do It Yourself, JSA Toyman. No. Sorry, I already fucked up. No, I didn't. JSA Toyman, Batman Death Wish, Aquaman at the Depths of Madness, then Superman for All Mankind, The Society, Justice Society, Endangered Species, then a comic book called Krypton, Zod's Masterpiece. And then the big final chapter is called Superman, the Starlight Emperor. And then after that, there's an epilogue called Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow. And all of them will be summarized in the epic. Yeah, Olivia, I got to get the fuck out of here. 250 pages is much too long. Bye, guys.